welcome to another session on Oracle database. After performing the installation for Oracle database management system, we are going to look at how to connect to Oracle interface and then how to connect to the users. How do we display users? How do we unlock a user? And how to describe a table as well. So let's begin. So after performing the installation, if you want to access the Oracle software, that is the interface that we'll be working with, where we have to execute our commands, we have to open SQL Plus. That is the basic interface or the required interface to execute all your commands, where you create your tables and perform data entry. So I will just apply or press on the command Windows key and then letter R. In my run command, I will type SQL Plus or SQL Plus. This is to open SQL Plus interface, and then I'll click on OK. Once I click on OK, this is the black interface I'm going to see. This is the actual interface for working with Oracle database, either 11G or 12C. But we also have another interface which is called the Oracle SQL Developer. The Oracle Developer interface, that is also there, but for now we'll be using this black interface to do our connections. So when you open the SQL Plus interface, the first thing that you're going to see is enter username. That's what we are seeing here, enter username. For now, we want to connect to a user that we call sys. The sys or the sysdba, that is the system administrator. So if you look at the example I've given over here, I have enter username, and then we use the backslash as and then sysdba, or you can use the command pass as sysdba to make the connection. So let's connect to sys user. So I will type pass as sysdba, then I'll hit on enter. Take note, the sysdba, which is also the systems administrator, does not need a password to connect. It has what we call the operating system authentication. Whether you enter a password for it or not, it will be able to make connection. So I will just hit on enter to make connection. Once I hit on enter, you will see connected to Oracle Database 12C Enterprise Edition. So I've connected to my sys user. So after connecting to the sys user or any other user, how do we check that I'm in this particular user? What command are we going to execute for the system to indicate that you are in this specific user? So if you look at the notepad here, I have display or displaying the current user. So how do we display current user? By executing the command show user. Now don't forget that in this black interface, whenever you type a command, you need to apply or end the command with a semicolon. This is to terminate the command. In database, we use a semicolon to terminate commands. Or SQL statement or language uses the semicolon to end the command. So show user, this is going to tell me the user that I'm connected to is so and so. So I'll hit on enter, and then it will indicate user is sys. That means we are inside the system administrator or the sys user. After indicating that we are in sys, the next thing that we want to see is how many number of users do we have in Oracle database, and how do we even display users? That is the next thing we are going to do. So I have here to display the number of existing users. How do we display users? So we use this command, which is select. When we say select is a DML command, which means to make what? To retrieve data from a view or a table. So I have here select username, which is a column or an attribute in the view, which is called dba_user. So select username from dba_user. So I will type the command here, select username from dba_users. Then I'll apply my semicolon and then hit on enter. Once I hit on enter, I will see all these users. These are all default users in the Oracle database. So I have here sys, I have another one, system. These are all default users in the Oracle database. So this is the command that we use in displaying all users in the database. So select username from dba_users. Now take note, you can only display the number of users in Oracle when you are only connected to the sys user. So if you are not in sys, forget about you executing the command select username from dba_users. It's not going to work. You should be in sys. You should be in sys, because sys is having all the views, which will give you access to the users that you have in the database. So after looking at the users in the database, the next thing is, how do we describe or display the attribute and then its data type and then size for a particular table? So if you look at what I have here, we use the command in database in Oracle. We use the command describe, or simply type DESC and then the name of the view or the name of the table. So I have here DESC dba_users. So we want to see the content in the dba_users view. So I will execute the command here, DESC, that means describe, or let me see the content inside the dba_users view. So DESC space dba_users. Then I'll apply or end with my semicolon, hit on enter, and then this, let me expand. So this is the information I have inside the dba_users row. So I have a username, I have user ID, password, account status, log date, expiry date. These are all attributes inside the dba_users view. Then I have the constraint here. I have the data type together with the data sizes, as you can see here. Okay, so after we looking at the content of the table or the dba_users view, the next thing that we want to do is to unlock a user. We have a user in Oracle that we call anonymous. That is a default user, anonymous. So let's see. So this is the user, anonymous user, right? There is a user that we call anonymous. Now if you look at anonymous user, by default it has been locked. The anonymous user has been locked. So if you have a user which has been logged, how do we unlock it and then assign a new password to it? So I have here how to check user account status. How do we check the account status for a specific user? So I will execute them. We just want to see the username and then the account status for that user. So from dba_users, where the username is equal to anonymous. Now take note, we know select is a DML statement which will retrieve data from a source, and then we use from. Why? Because you are selecting these attributes from which view? From this table. So from this view, which is called dba_users view, and then we have where the username is equal to anonymous. Why do we have the where clause here? The where clause there means is for filtering. You are making the search only to what? Anonymous. So we have restricted the search to only the anonymous user. If you ignore the where clause and then you only end here, that is where I've assigned the semicolon, that means it is going to display the account status for all the users in the database, but we just want to see the account status for only one user, which is anonymous user. So let's execute this command. So you can just copy here. When you just right click inside this black interface, it will paste for you. So let's do it again. So you copy, you right click to paste. So if you want to execute the command, you only have to hit on enter once you have the semicolon there. If you do not bring the semicolon and then you hit on enter, it will move to the next line. That means you are not done with the command. So we always end the command with a semicolon. So I'll hit on enter, and then look, it says the username. This is the username, anonymous here, and then this is the account status, which is expired and locked. That means it has been locked. It is not accessible. It's not having any password. So how do we unlock a user and then assign a new password to the user? That's the next thing we are going to look at. So the next thing says how to unlock and assign in a password for a user. So if you want to assign a password for any user at all, we use the command alter user, then the username identified by. Now we use the identified by to assign a new password. The password that you're seeing here, 123, means the 123 you're seeing there, that is what the password. And then the last command that we are going to end with what? Account unlock, because we can see clearly inside the black interface that it is what? Locked. So we will execute this command: alter user anonymous identified by 123 account unlock. Now we use alter, which is a DDL statement or a DDL command. The alter is to make changes in the user or in any object at all. So we are making what? Changes in the user called anonymous. So alter the user, which is the anonymous user, and then assign a new password, which is 123. Then you finally unlock it. So let's execute this command too. So let's do it again. So it is unlocking. Now the result is user altered. That means we finally unlocked the anonymous user and then assign a new password. So let's check the status again. Let's check the status for anonymous again. Now look, the username is anonymous, and over here the account status is open. That means we now have access to the anonymous user. So that is how we unlock a user. That is the command we use in unlocking the user. We use alter user, then the username, you bring the keyword again, identified by, you introduce your password, then the last thing is account unlock. That is when the account has been locked and then you want to unlock it and then assign a new password. So what if you want to lock your account? How do we lock it? It does the same thing. So how to lock a user? We use the command alter user, the username, account lock, and then it will be locked. So let's lock the anonymous user again with this command. So alter user anonymous account lock. When we recheck the status for anonymous again, it is going to tell us the account has been locked. So this means it has been locked, as we can all see here. So let's unlock it. So unlock and then assign a new password. So user altered. When we recheck the status for the user again, it is done. Open. Okay. So after unlocking a user and then assigning a new password, how do we connect to the user? So we can use the command here, connect or con, then the username, and then we enter the password. Or we can just type con, bring a / and then type the password for the user. So let's use the cheapest way to connect. So this connection is done when you are in a specific user and then you want to switch to another user. So I'll type con, which is the short form of connect. So con, then the username. We are connecting to anonymous, so I'll type anonymous. I'll bring /, then I'll introduce the password. The password for anonymous was 123, and then I'll hit on enter. So it will tell me connected over here. So we are now in anonymous. So how do we check if we are really in anonymous user? This is by typing show user, and then it will tell us user is anonymous. So that is how we connect to a user, and then how to lock and then unlock a user, how to connect to sales, how to display users. Thank you for this session. On the next session, we are going to look at what we call privileges, and then a little bit of roles, and then we'll start with how to create a common user and then a local user. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe and like my videos.